The question is that this bill be read a second time, and I call the honourable member for Lindsay.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise today in support of the Higher Education and Research Reform Bill 2014. Success of our universities is paramount to the future success of our country. We live in a fast-changing and dynamic world. More than ever, our children must be provided with the skills to enable them to compete in this ever-changing global workplace. More than ever, our universities must have the shackles removed that hinder their ability to provide this dynamic education. Let me explain. My father's father had a primary school education and a couple of trades, quite normal and acceptable for his time. My mum, a Year 10 education, my dad, Year 12, again, quite normal and acceptable for their times. My brothers and I all attended university. I went to the University of Western Sydney studying business, my brother Stephen, the University of Technology Sydney for engineering, and my brother Glenn went to the University of Sydney to study commerce. Again, then my brother Glenn and I decided, perhaps sibling rivalry, perhaps a bonding experience, we would then embark on an MBA together. We both enrolled at the AGSM, or the University of New South Wales, and completed our MBA programs. Our decisions to go into an MBA was completely based on the fact that we found that into our 30s we had reached a glass ceiling in our careers and needed to find another edge to continue our move forward. Comparing that to my grandparents, my Pop Scott, it was another trade to complement his workshop, or for my Pop Alan, it was a trade to enable, it was more skills in his trades to enable him to climb the non-commissioned ranks in the Australian Army. Even looking through my own educational experience, the method in which I have received education has diametrically changed over the last 37 years. Primary school was all about chalk, pencils, overhead projectors and a Commodore 64. High school, whiteboards, data projectors and Windows 2.1. My undergraduate degree, textbooks, CDs and a laptop. And finally my MBA, iPads, electronic files, electronic notes, online forums, e-libraries, virtual work groups from across the country, all submitted through an electronic portal. My point is, the demands of education to meet our community's expectations and the way we teach is constantly and incredibly dynamic. With it, the employment market is also dynamic and changing. So it is only logical that today's children in Lindsay will need different skills for tomorrow's workforce, to those that need that education today. In fact, the jobs that many of our children will be doing possibly are not even created yet. The Penrith Business Alliance predicts that in 20 years' time, the manufacturing sector in our region will only be 5%. Yet, as part of our growth centre objectives, the growth of our region is to move to concentrate more on jobs in the space of health, education, technology and community service. We need reform to ensure our tertiary institutions are up for the job. We need to ensure that our tertiary institutions equip our children to perform these jobs and, in turn, secure the economic success of our region. Deputy Speaker, the need to constantly reform and re-evaluate what we do to ensure the kids of today are prepared and are keen to work across all of these growth sectors. And with it, this generation of children need a curriculum base that's going to prepare them for a whole new world and a whole new fields opened up by our university sector. That's why this government keeps talking about the need for reform. And that is why the Minister for Education is so passionate about looking and taking this to a new level. He is looking at ground-up reform. At the end of the spectrum is where our universities are heading right now. From my observations, they are signing deals today to feed into the innovation, health, community and service sectors of tomorrow. The new courses and fields that, as I, as a university student, could only dream about, include fields like Civionics, where civil engineering meets electronics. And for my older brother, who went to UTS and has a civil engineering degree, these are quite exciting advancements. Fields like this will revolutionise technique and our technology and the efficiencies of our structures. Yet a decade ago, these fields did not exist. So our universities have to be entering and investing in new fields and signing new deals if they are to remain competitive with the rest of the world and be relevant. And they have a further issue: more and more student demand. Universities are becoming increasingly accessible, and more people than ever are gaining a tertiary education. In my parents' generation, very few people had a university experience. In my generation, around 50% of people went on to university. While today, university is available to anyone who wants to study and further their career, it is not the sandstone wall fortress it once was. And university has to become more attractive to more people as they strive to deliver subjects that will help start students on their journey into their career. And that's not all, except for one thing: the money has to come from somewhere. Now, there are different ways a university can achieve this, but let me say this: if we are to truly help them, we must cut the red tape and allow the university sector to compete for students in a world where they are not hamstrung by legislation. Some people say that codes for allowing them to jack up the prices, and some prices may increase. But against that, other course costs will fall. The benefit of freeing up the system will see universities being able to better meet the demand, as well as being able to compete for students and become more flexible as the nature of studies change. One piece of this debate where I do find interesting is where people really refer to universities in a way of jacking up prices. The concern that I have here is that really they're saying that universities are irresponsible organisations that really don't think to the needs of their children. I think to all the Vice-Chancellors and Chancellors across Australia, this debate that heads down that line is actually quite offensive. To that end, the University of Western Sydney is one institution driving innovation and investment. In November, the University of Western Sydney signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Beijing University of Chinese Medicine as part of a landmark China-Australia free trade. As a result, this relationship will allow new research-led Chinese medicine clinic in Sydney to better patient care and the potential for Australia to tap into a $170 billion global traditional Chinese medicine market. The aim is to encourage the use of complementary medicines as an alternative treatment in the doctor's surgery. The University of Western Sydney is the first Chinese accredited organisation in the Western world to tap into this traditional Asian market, which is for thousands and thousands of years old. It will create hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs and will bring a skills revolution into the region and transform the way we in the Western world, here in Australia, and more importantly for me, in Western Sydney, look at alternative medicines. But it does not end there. The University of Western Sydney is also in a joint venture with the federal government with the development of the Warrington Park Corporate Centre, a building currently in development. It will bring 400 jobs into my electorate, and I repeat, that's not just 400 jobs, that's 400 smart jobs in health and education. This is great work, and this great work cannot be simply undone by a system that is already in demand, covered in red tape. With massive investments necessary and costs rising, all sides of politics agree Australia's current higher education and research system is unsustainable. So how do you rein in these costs? The previous Labor government tried to deal with this by making cuts. They made no attempt to bolster revenue to universities in spite of knowing that more revenue was needed. In fact, under their watch, the international education market is estimated to have fallen from 19 million in 2009-10 to 15 billion when they left office. But this government wants to strengthen our higher education system and make it more sustainable in the long term. We believe the higher education system must be fair and equitable to all Australians, and this bill does just that. We want to provide a system with Australian students university-ready. We want investment into world-class research facilities in areas that will produce jobs of the 21st century. We need our universities to be relevant. Within reason, we want to give our universities the power to compete and set their own fee structures. And we want students protected from unrealistic debt burdens. This bill aims to spread opportunity to more students, especially disadvantaged students and rural and regional students, equip Australian universities to face the challenges of the 21st century, and ensure Australia is not left behind by intensifying global competitions and new technologies. Students are big winners under this bill. This is a very important piece of legislation, and it ensures that HECS will be kept in line with the CPI. This means that there will be no changes to the HECS indexation rate. The government also plans to introduce a 5-year HECS indexation pause for primary carers of a newborn baby, those who are earning less than the HECS minimum repayment threshold, around $50,000. Government funding will also be available to eligible higher education students studying accredited undergraduate degrees at all approved higher education institution providers, including private colleges and TAFEs. This will mean an estimated 80,000 additional students will receive Commonwealth support every year by 2018. Plus, there will be more scholarships on offer with Commonwealth Scholarship Scheme, where 1 in every $5 of additional revenue raised by higher education providers will go towards helping students that need it most. According to the 2001 census data, the most common occupations in my electorate of Lindsay include clerical and administrative workers at 18.8%, technicians and trades at 15%, professionals at 14.3%, machinery operators and drivers at 10.5%, and managers at 10.1%. Most of these occupations require some form of study. This bill also allows more people from more walks of life to access adequate and fair education and gain the necessary skills they require to pursue a career of their choice, to access those smart jobs, the ones that are on their way to Lindsay. Deputy Speaker, I'd also like to talk briefly about the Colombo Plan. The Colombo Plan has seen 95 students from UWS secure opportunities to study overseas. Recently, I had the Minister of Foreign Affairs come to meet some of these students, and she said, the new Colombo Plan has been raised as a great example of the connectivity that is required for our region, building government to government, people to people, university to university, and business to business. We are investing in our students. We are investing in our future. I agree with the Minister. Investing in our higher education system is important for the future for all Australians. In a world of growing international competition, Universities Australia has warned us about the risk of Australia being left behind. Currently, our universities have limited prospects of competing with the best in Europe and North America and the fast-developing universities in Asia. 5 years ago, there were no Chinese universities in the top 200. Now, in Shanghai, Jiao Tong Index of Universities. Today, there are 5. In the same period, only 1 Australian university entering the top 200, joining 6 Australian universities already there. We face the prospect of our universities falling behind. Or can we do something about this now? It is essential we actually look at how we can make our universities more competitive. Deputy Speaker, I see so much opportunity for the people of Western Sydney. I see the partnership that the University of Western Sydney has done so much to really drive forward and create opportunity and jobs for tomorrow. Deputy Speaker, I commend the bill to the House.
Thank you. The question is that this bill be now read a second time.